All right, how about now? Can you hear me now? Let's see. Margie, Sue, Colleen, can somebody let me know? No sound still? Oh no. All right, Anne is saying no sound. We did make the modifications. Let's see. All right, we're checking. Yes, yay! All right, awesome. Thank you, Anne. I appreciate you letting me know, and all of you guys letting me know. You guys are amazing. Okay, so rewind. Let's start again. So today's focus will be on breaking the identity mold, and I am really excited. Oh no, it's really soft. Okay. All right, 1 second, guys. If for any reason you are not able to hear me too well, please stay on. Be patient with me, it won't take us long. But go ahead and actually make sure that the volume to either your where you're listening to, you still, okay, someone can't still hear. Okay, just make sure that the sound is up on your phone or your computer, and because it is showing on our end that it is playing. And I can see that there's several people who are saying they can hear me. Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you. This is why it's a collaborative experience, because we get to support each other through this. So thank you so much. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's all take a deep breath. I begin once again. So today's focus is going to be on breaking the identity mold. And I'm really looking forward to seeing and witnessing the energy, how it's going to be felt, not just by me, but by each of you. The last 2 nights, including last night and the night before, a lot of guidance was coming through. I kept getting woken up throughout the night. A lot of energy was being felt by my physical body, and a lot of messages were being offered about the importance of the share tonight. And it doesn't mean that all the other shares that we've had haven't been important or significant. They all have been. They've all been preparing us for this conversation today. But today's conversation is really helping people understand the importance of a purpose that this right now is offering us as individuals and as a collective. And it's very essential, as it resonates with you, if it resonates, as it can support you. Thank you. Because it's going to be one of those things that we are not going to be able to ignore, is what they were saying. Meaning that all of us are breaking out of an identity. And it might be that some people break out and then they try to rebuild it and try to recreate and try to go back to that mold. But there's going to be a lot of discomfort, a lot of unbalance is what I'm audibly hearing. But the reality is because of the current circumstances, everybody is being pushed out of the mold or broken from a mold, or the mold itself is being shattered. Thank you, is what I'm audibly hearing. And I know that seems extreme, but what's happening right now is extreme. It's forcing us to change our behaviors. It's forcing us to change our patterns, the actions that we usually take. It's actually forcing us to look at life in a very different way, including going to the supermarket, including taking care of our own physical well-being when we're out and about, whether it is because we go to the gas station or because we're even walking around the neighborhood. And the different steps that are being taken to modify, right, the usual, so that we can, I know the word conform may not be what we want to hear, but so that we can conform to what is being asked of us because of supposedly our well-being. Now, there's a lot of controversies and a lot of conversations about what this is, where it came from, what it's trying to do, what other factors are part of what's unfolding. And yes, I've got my thoughts, and yes, I've got my ideas, and yes, I got my own perceptions. And I'm not going to go one way or another in this conversation, because that's not what the call is about. But what I'm trying to identify with that is that I want to encourage you that no matter how you view this, no matter what you're perceiving is happening, no matter what you think is going on, this is applicable to you. This is applicable to all of us. And my intention in our conversation is to share more of what they said, and also the how, like how to move into grace and ease through it and with it, and what can happen and what can unfold from it. So as we move forward, thank you. They're audibly telling me to encourage everybody to just take a deep breath. And it's going to be like 1 or 2 seconds, but let's just go ahead and together take in a deep breath. And then let yourself just release that breath. Okay, thank you. They audibly said narrow, so apparently several people took that breath a little too shallow. So let's take that breath deeper, all of us, including myself. Let's go ahead and deep breath. And when you're ready, just let yourself release. All right. Today I am going to use notes. And the reason I am using notes is because a lot of the guidance that was given was very specific. And I know, and I've shared this before, my words are going to only go so far. Meaning that there is a lot of what's going to be received that's going to go beyond words. So as we move forward, I am encouraging you, whether you're live or on replay, to let yourself set aside, like I said in our first conversation, set aside any ideas, expectations of what I'm going to say, what I'm not going to say, what's going to be addressed, any expectations, even about me and how I share. Just take a moment to set all that aside. And even set aside of what you think is important to be discussed. Because there are going to be, again, a lot of things that are going to be received by you that are going to go beyond my words. And part of my intention, my prayer, my hope is that each of you finish with me during this time feeling more peaceful, feeling more in a place of clarity, feeling more, they're audibly telling me the word awakened, so I want to say that, feeling more awakened to yourself, to your spirit, your light, your soul, your true possibility. And whatever it is you choose to call God, source, higher self, whatever it may be, just for this to be a time in which the more of your beautiful essence can be here and rewarded and awakened into its highest potential. All right, so let's begin. Okay, so one of the things that they said is that they wanted me to have us do a quick exercise about having everybody take a moment to remember an obstacle that they've overcome. So for example, for me, overcoming the obstacle of even being able to share here with you. In the past, when I first started my business, started sharing, started channeling, started doing events and doing sessions, I had, my kids were little, right? My girls were little. And at the time, my daughter had a lot of complications with her medical needs, seizures and all sorts of stuff. So there was a lot of challenge, let's say, in this physical world in making sure that I was showing up, not just for all of you, but also for my girls, making sure that I was there in the hospital, making sure that I was showing up and taking care of things. And it took a lot of creative management and a lot of creative ways to show up and really be of service. But the thing that I can celebrate now is that that was a time in which I felt at times overwhelmed as I looked like an octopus because I was juggling so much. But I also can celebrate how much I was being supported and guided in making sure that I was maintaining balance for myself and my children. So what I am helping you in this moment to celebrate a time in your life in which they want me to say the word obstacle, that you confronted an obstacle, meaning that maybe there was something you didn't think you were going to be able to survive through, or something that you felt so overwhelmed with emotionally, mentally, physically, just something that you felt was a challenge. Thank you. They want me to say obstacle, some time in your life in which you felt a big obstacle or obstacles were in your way. And as you identify that, let yourself pretty much, thank you, acknowledge that it's been something that has passed or it's been overcome, right? That it had its time, that it had its moment, and that passed and that you overcame it, right? Because you're here, right? That you were able to handle it or respond to it or just be able to handle it enough to get past it and through it. So they want you to take a moment to do that. And now I want you to look at what's happening right now and remind yourself that just as you were able to overcome that obstacle, that challenge, or just as that challenge and obstacle came to pass, right? It's no longer part of your path or no longer part of your here right now. This is applicable to what's happening right now. This does have its moment. It does have its time, and it is going to come into transition, meaning like it's going to move on, okay? The length, the time is not something I can share right now, but it is something that we can come together in an energetic hug and acknowledge and celebrate that this too shall pass. The passing of this, though, it's creating a wave. They're showing me, the best way I could explain the vision they're showing me, it's creating a wave, right? And the wave, just like vibration and energy, it distorts, right? It moves things, it shakes things, it impacts things. And right now, the wave that this is creating, the energy, the vibration, the impact that this is creating is causing all of us to change in a very deep way, drastic way, and superficial way. And I'm sure as I'm saying that, some of you can very clearly identify what those things are. You know, that could be with work, that could be with people you're not seeing. It could be a lot of very superficial, right, changes, like not going to work. But there's also the deeper changes. Some of you are going deep and questioning things and like doubting things or celebrating things. But there's deeper things that are also being stirred. So again, they wanted us to each identify something we've been able to move through and overcome for us to consciously decide moving forward in the days to come that we are going to remind ourselves of that this too will be something we will be overcoming. All right, so what is an identity? I wanted to make sure I gave you the dictionary definition so that we can go ahead and explore it further in our conversation. So an identity is the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. Now, I'm going to add to that what we think is, right? That what we are thinking that we are. And the reason I'm going to say think, because there's so many levels of us. There's so many aspects of us. And every one of us has carried different identities, different badges, different name tags. What does that mean? Depending on your age, right? At one point you were the child. At one point you were the student. At one point you were the teacher, let's say, whichever role you played that as a teacher. But we all wear different hats. We've worn different hats in our life. And each hat carries an identity. Right? An identity. So for example, you as a child, you had your own expectations about what that looks like, how you should be, what you should not be doing. The same applies for me. Like right now, I am a mother, right? So I consciously and subconsciously have, they're moving energy to this. I'm a mother. And I have identities to that, right? Like how I should show up to be a good mother, what I should do with my children, what I shouldn't do with my children, what that looks like, what is required of me. So all of us have carried different identities in our past as much as we carry them right now. If you're a business owner, you have an identity of what that looks like, what success looks like as a business owner. If you are a parent, same thing like me, you have those ideas, those identities, those requirements about what that looks like. So what I am trying to describe is that as we have the identity of the hat, right? The hat we put on because this is how I need to communicate, this is how I have to show up, this is how I have to dress, this is how I have to carry myself as this identity, it has its own vibration and sense of self. But the thing that's ironic is that we have many identities, and the many identities we have look very different. Meaning that you don't show up as a mother or as a father when you're hanging out with your friends, right? Or when you're spending time with your coworkers, or when you're hanging out with your father, a mother, or sibling, whatever it might be, right? Or just hanging out to meet strangers. You act and show up very differently. So your identity looks different. Your identity vibrates, like it morphs itself. Thank you. And they're showing me a chameleon. So what does that mean? That depending on what we're doing and what's going on, our identity is going to be like a chameleon. It's going to morph and it's going to change, right? So that's where we go into the identity mold. So we have many identity molds. We have our identities, and then in these identities, it creates a mold. Like how we show up at certain times, how we shouldn't show up at certain times, like how we look as a whole with all these different hats, with all these different identities. Well, right now, with what's happening, we are being really pushed into a different set of rules. And that's how they audibly wanted me to explain it. Because each of our identity molds, or even just identity as in general, we have different rules to that, right? Different expectations. And even the vibration of who we are as that person is different, right? Our thoughts are different. The emotions are different. For example, thank you. They're showing me an example. Like for some of you, or some of us, let's say, maybe going to work was like one of those things that you're like, and you were feeling you would get down, right? But when you knew you were going to go hang out with people that you love spending time with, or just celebrating, or just going to go play, you'd show up differently, right? Your identity was different. So the vibration is different in how those identities show up. So right now, we are being forced out of the mold. We're being forced out of our typical identities of right now. The identity molds that we've been for the last few months, for the last few years, for the last decade. Like right now, what's happening, we are being forced out of these identity molds. And that being said, one of the audible things that they want me to say is like, throughout life, our identity molds shift, they change, and they shatter sometimes. Like we become somebody completely different. And sometimes we do that by choice, thank you. And sometimes we are forced because of our circumstances. A lot of times, people and individuals are forced into the identity shift, right? We're forced into the mold of our identity shattering when a death of a loved one occurs. Because a lot of times people question life, they question purpose, they question themselves, they question so many things. And usually a loved one, when they're lost, there's so much of our identity that's connected to that, right? To being part of their lives, to them being part of ours. So usually when there's a death or a tragic loss, the identity mold automatically gets forces into a change, right? It changes, it breaks. Because who we were before the death cannot be something we can go back into. We're permanently changed. And how we go from there really depends on where we choose to take it and how we choose to grow from it, how we choose to expand from it, how we choose to love from it. So right now we are in one of those situations where we're being forced to break out of these molds. We're being forced to morph our identities. We're being forced to turn ourselves into somebody new. And I know that seems pretty extreme, but the reality is that the way things have shifted, we are required, thank you, that's what they're telling me. We are required now, we're being forced to look at things differently, right? We're being forced to look at society differently. We're being forced to look at our well-being differently. We're being forced to look at people we love and strangers differently. We're being forced to look at ourselves, what we do with our lives, how we carry ourselves, what we can and can't do. We're being forced to look, be, breathe, move differently. And I know, again, it seems extreme, but the thing that's exciting about this and the gift about this is that evolution is a required process. Growth is a required process for us as humans and for the soul. So if we're not expanding, if we're not growing, if we're not expanding, and I think I already said expanding, but they're audibly repeating that word again. So if we're not expanding and we're not growing, then we're dying. We're wilting. They're showing me a flower wilting, right? We're wilting. We're losing a sense of fulfillment. We're losing a sense of desire and motivation and passion for life. You know, we're slowly muting our light. We're slowly pulling away from what we are meant to become. So inherently, growth and evolution and expansion are part of our nature. They're part of what is required for us to thrive, to survive, to live, to grow, to be. So right now, even though this is an interesting time, it is offering us an opportunity or forcing us to move into a beautiful expression and cycle of growth, expansion, and evolution that really is required for each of us. And what they were showing me in my dream and in the middle of the night as they woke me up last night, literally I was sitting there typing on my phone as they were showing me, is that there's too many things going on in our collective that are standstill, right? And there's a lot of things that are not just, they're standstill, but there's a lot of things that are just promoting more of the chaos and the imbalance that has been happening with the whole, right? And maybe not necessarily in your specific life, but we all know that what's happening in the whole impacts us as well. You know, we can ignore it and act like nothing's happening, but there is this interconnectedness among all of us. And thank you. There's a deep down desire to thrive, to connect, to love, to be in that state of union, right? As a whole. So in so many ways and in so many levels, right now we're being forced to break out of a mold that has contained many different behaviors and expectations and vibrations about ourselves, about our humanity, about how we should show up, how we should thrive, how we should find fulfillment and happiness, how we should connect. So right now we are being pushed into a new place, a place that we've never known. And the thing that's exciting about when something is unknown is that we can lead the way into what it can look like. We can lead ourselves into becoming something that is an evolved expression of who we've been. And as I'm saying that, they're audibly telling me to talk about something that they gave me. So one moment as I go back into the notes, which they call, oh, thank you. So one of the things that I audibly kept hearing in my run today and in my meditation is that they kept saying there's always another level to the self. There's always another level to the self. And what that means is that in so many ways, we are constantly, like, we can work and we can become the best versions of ourselves and we can feel amazing and fabulous. But because, again, part of our purpose, part of our own soul's desire is to grow, to become better, to evolve, because there's always that inherent movement from the soul, and for the human perspective, there's always a next level to us. And for me, for you, for us as a collective, consciously and unconsciously, we've gotten used to a norm. Even with just how society runs and how things run, we've gotten used to a norm. And the norm we've become accustomed to, you know, the behaviors and the energy, the vibration, the thoughts, the expectations that we've been part of have only allowed us to be here. And yes, all of us, you know, as we do our own work, we're evolving here and there, here and there, here and there, but we go back to the whole and understanding that we are a collective being, right? We're a collective energy. Energy is moving out for that too. And right now with what's happening, that doesn't mean everybody's going to choose to evolve and grow and thrive. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to do that. But we have all, right now, as a collective, are being given an opportunity to choose to do that if we're open to it. We are being given not just one person here, another person there, the person you've been working with, or the person that has been pulling you. Like, it's not just scattered, right? It's an opportunity, right? Where all of us can go ahead and take a break from ourselves, how we've known ourselves, how we've seen society, how things have been, a break from what has been known, so that we can now move into a space, into a place that helps us to see that there is another level to who we can be. There is another way to think in the morning. There's another way to choose what to do with your day. There's another way to now find to create money if you were used to working at a place that has closed down or is temporarily not functioning or open for service. Like, you are being forced, right, to find another level of yourself. And not just you, all of us, even though I work from home, and I'm grateful that my business thrives and runs here at home and I'm not needing to go anywhere. You know, of course I travel and do retreats as well, but at the time I can still continue to function, right, my business. But I still, even though I work from home, things are being modified, things are changing, right? So I'm being forced into a next level of myself. So what they were showing me in the vision is that as a collective, and they were showing me a vibration coming from inside the earth. Some of you call it Gaia, some call it Mother Earth, some of you call it Earth, right? Or the planet. So the vibration was being shown to me coming from the core, the internal. And a lot of things happen beyond the surface that we can't see and we don't know about, that yes, are being fueled and fed by a lot of things. And I'm not going to get into that right now. But that being said, the vibration of what's happening right now, it's creating, how do you want me to say that? Discord, they're showing me the vibration of the earth, which I talked about it in one of our conversations, but they're showing me the vibration of the earth, the resonance of the earth, right? So it's shifting and changing because of what's happening, because people's thoughts look different, because people's behaviors look different. They're even showing me people's walking is changed. So there's not as many people walking on the earth as usual, which I don't even know how to fully explain that, but that's the vision they're showing me. So as a collective, the whole world is vibrating differently, which is also impacting the core, its core. So they're showing me a vision of the core vibrating. So the energy is going in and it's going out like this. They're showing me the energy going in and out and like this, in and out. But in the vision, they showed me that that vibration is actually pushing things out. It's pushing things from within us, from around us, and it's pushing them in a way where we can move into a different octave of ourselves, a different octave of humanity. And yes, right now there's things that are still in place, like certain things with the government and certain things that really just dictate even how certain things move left and right with how we move as a collective, right, with societies throughout the world. But we still, as a collective, we still as individuals are being offered with this stillness, right, this pause to what we've known, the opportunity to rise to another level. And let's see here. All right, sorry, I'm going back because you're audibly telling me to go back. That's to something that they gave me and I can't consciously identify what it is. Okay, got it. Okay. So that being said, I was also shown the idea of Christ consciousness. And I know that may not resonate with everybody, and that's okay. It could be Buddha consciousness, higher self consciousness, light consciousness, awakened consciousness. It has many labels, let's say, by many different people, different backgrounds, different religions. But for the moment, and for this conversation, I am going to use the energy of the Christ consciousness. And they were showing me the Christ consciousness and how it has its specific vibration, right? Its specific becoming, its specific sense of self. And that in so many ways, right now with what's unfolding and happening, this is like, and I know it's going to sound really different the way I'm going to say this, but this is like an answered prayer to many people who've been asking to wake up to the Christ consciousness. And I'm getting emotional from it. Like, this somehow is a reflection as well. And I know answered prayer is a very strong word to say right now, especially because there's so many other things that are part of the unfoldment right now. But what they're trying to say, thank you, they want me to rephrase that. What they're trying to say is that there's been so many people working in becoming that awakened self. There's been so many people working and inviting to be more in that Christ consciousness, There's been so many people, and they're audibly saying the word begging, which I know seems extreme, but they're showing me people in prayer, they're showing me people in meditation, they're showing me people with hands up. It's like they've been asking, praying, and inviting, begging for a shift to occur, for something to unfold in a way that a shift can occur if chosen, right? And they're saying that right now, even though, yes, it has qualities that we can identify as heavy and sad and chaotic, even though it has some of those things that can be labeled that, it also has the color of possibilities, the color of opportunity. It also has that vibration. And the reason it's so extreme and why it's so available for us to move into more of this Christ consciousness is because people's patterns are being interrupted. Our patterns, our thoughts, our behaviors, our expectations, our norm is being interrupted drastically. Not just a little bit, because in life things happen that interrupt us. Things happen that interrupt the flow of the norm. And when those interruptions happen, what occurs organically is that we start thinking differently. We may see things differently. We may feel differently. We might behave differently. So every interruption that occurs in our lives and any interruption that occurs in the collective offers us an opportunity, and they're showing me us turning around. It offers us the opportunity to see things differently, to see the world differently, and to be a different version of ourselves, right? So right now with what's happening, the pause, right? The forced pause, the interruption that's happening, it's offering us an opportunity to step further into Christ consciousness, but also witness it in the collective as well. I was listening to someone today, and it was really exciting to listen to because it's not someone who in any way would have ever meditated, would have ever explored going deeper and connecting more to understanding themselves, and not because I want to label the person like that, but because they've been very open about this is just not my thing. And I got to witness today in their share how what's happening right now, put him in a place where he felt compelled. I'm using my own language, but the way he described it was a little different. But he felt compelled to take time to meditate, to take time to go deeper and understand himself and who he needs to be and who he wants to be. Go deeper in identifying what else is possible for humanity, what else is possible for me to help my neighbors, to help the collective. It put him in a place that had him go deeper, right? The current circumstances are offering everyone the opportunity to go deeper, because emotion drives us to go deeper. Emotions drive us to find answers. So the emotions that are stirring within you, the emotions that are stirring within other people, are forcing people to find answers, find another way. And it's a wonderful time for people to open up to a way in which they can be led into more awakened selves, right? It's an opportunity to find the answers that can help people really understand the truth about themselves, about the potential of life and potential of the soul and what can be created in this reality. So right now, with all that's happening, just to shift in perspective, loves, is that right now we have the chance, we have the ability to really be blessed with the opportunity to be a witness to more of that Christ consciousness, waking up within people, that desire to be more, that desire to be a better version of self, more connected, more in tuned. The emotions that are stirring within so many people in our collective right now, including me, including you, including all of us, the emotions that are stirring are pushing us to go deeper. Thank you. And pushing us to be able to rise higher, right, into the next level of our becoming. Again, breaking the mold, the identity mold. So now the how, how can we do this more gracefully and with more ease? So they showed me practical steps. So I'm going to share some of those practical steps. And I'm also going to share some of the intuitive steps, the things that I've applied myself, my own journey, and what's been offering me results, and also the thousands of people I've been able to support and guide through in my own journey and in my own life and in my own work. So let's start with the practical stuff. If you are saying yes to another level of yourself, if you are wanting to move with more grace and ease to the identity mold shift that's happening, right? The breaking of that mold, the shattering of the mold. If you want to help create a new version of the identity that's possible for you, and it's paradoxical, thank you. I'm going to go back, rewind here real quick. It's paradoxical because the reality is that part of the awakening process, part of what I like to teach my clients and help with myself, and even just when I work with people, and even what we're doing with the Awakened Superhuman, is that we're helping people break out of a mold. We're trying to help people break out of the identity and the illusion of certain things that are part of this humanity and human experience, right? That we're meant to say yes to being different, to creating something different, to shifting this reality in a way, in a form in which there could be more sustenance, in which love is experienced, in which connection is part of the game, right? Expression of the true self, right, is part of our own recognition, not just for ourselves, but with each other. So again, this is all paradoxical when I say, what identity can you become now? But we're going to go there just for the conversation, and just to help with the steps that I'm going to be sharing as well. All right, so one of the things that they said is that they want you to take time to journal, get a piece of paper, and identify, okay, what has been part of my identity before this, right? So, it could be a coworker, a worker, a business owner, a mother, a father, a daughter, a sister, whatever it might be. Just identify all the identities, right? And what were some of the things that were typical in that identity? And I know that maybe seem long, but I promise you it's going to be worth it. So identify all the different things and how it looked, you dressed, how you had to carry yourself, what things you liked to do, didn't like to do. I hear this from so many people, including loved ones. They're like, well, this is just who I am. This is the kind of music I like. This is what I always do. This is just who I am, right? People say that often, whether it's in their minds, in their heads, or because they're saying it out loud. So identify all those different identities and how you were showing up. And then in the middle section or in another section, you can identify, okay, with what's been happening, how has that been changing, or how has it had to change? So how am I having to act different? How are my routines different? How are the changes happening? Let your logical mind, so this is the thing when I work with people, it's about engaging not just your energy, your spirit, your intuition, but the mind, because the mind is the gateway, right? The mind requires to be worked with, right? And shifted as well, so that everything else that can come from that, the spirit, the energy, the intuition, can be experienced by the logical mind that's here in this physical body. So by doing this part that I'm giving right now, identify all the ways that your identity is different, right? The things that have happened, how you have morphed and have had to show up different or think different. This is good and bad, no judgment or labels, but if you want to go ahead and identify, these are the things that I'm doing now that I wasn't doing before, that may be not the best thing, or things that are like, yes, this is so good for me now. Just again, those things that are part of the identity. And then on the end, in another section or in another paper, you're going to identify, if I could choose, if I had the freedom, the energy, the ability, the power, all that is required for a new sense of self, a new identity, a next level of me, how would that look? What would that look like? How would I talk? How would I dance? How would I not dance? How would I dress? What would I like to do? What would be my thoughts? What would I focus on? What would be some of my mindsets? Could some of my mindset include I got this? I'm resourceful. I got everything I need within and all around me to make the life that I want. I'm intelligent. What are some of the mindsets that are part of this new identity that you're saying yes to? Right? They're audibly saying, what's the swag? And I'm being shown somebody walking a certain way. And I know they're trying to be funny, but it's even just how is the walk different? How do you carry yourself different? Are you more confident? Are you more vibrant? Are you laughing more? What are some of those qualities? And they're showing me write them down. And it might be that for some of you, because this is going to happen for some of you, and there's no right or wrong. I've been there. I've had my moments with that too. But you can identify, okay, who's someone I look up to? Who's someone I look up to? You know, one of mine, I have several mentors. You know, one of mine is Oprah. I know it sounds cheesy because I think most people say Oprah, but one of mine is Oprah. Another person that another mentor that I resonate with is Michael Beckwith. Another one is Tony Robbins. There's certain people that I just really admire in how they are really changing lives, because that's my passion. My passion is to be love, to show up for people, and to help people. Like, that's what I'm passionate about. It fuels me, it lights me up, it gets me excited. Like when I know I'm helping someone, it's the most fulfilling thing that I can do. Even if they don't know I'm helping them, even if I can just secretly offer support, it's one of the things that brings me a lot of joy. So what are some of those things that you can look at? And thank you, Paula, I received that. You're so sweet. Thank you. Who are some of those people that you can put and identify as leaders or people who are living that life or living that example of who you want to be? So when you identify the person, just play with it. Like maybe like in your mind, like, okay, what would be their typical day? How would they wake up? What would be the first thing they do? What would be the thing that they do during the day? What choices would they make about their body? What choices would they make about feeding their mindset? What choices would they make about what they give their energy and attention to? What would they be doing right now with these things that are happening in our collective? Just play with it. Let your imagination, like a child, like awe-inspired, let it come in and let it be received. Like, what are some of the fun things that they would be doing, or not so fun things? Like, what are some of the things that would be part of their routine that you can borrow, right? What are some of the things and steps that you think they might be doing that you can borrow and use as an inspiration to do yourself? So for me, for example, meditation is really important to me. And I can tell when I don't meditate. Like, I can see the difference. But when I meditate and I receive and I channel for myself and just really just sit in that love, it's amazing. It's very empowering. So if I'm doing this exercise, which I will based on the guidance that they've offered for me and for all of us, when I do this exercise, like, I want that to be part of my continued evolved self, right? Part of my new evolution. I want that to continue. So what I'm sharing with you is that you have qualities in your old identity. I'm going to say old because who you were 4 or 5 months ago is very different than you are right now, because again, of the circumstances. Your routines are different. The way you look at yourself is different. The way you look at life. And even though it might have been a very slight shift, like a millimeter, that's hard to tell that there's a change, you have shifted. So you may still borrow things from your old identity to continue to implement because they're supportive. They're supportive who you want to evolve into and who you want to be. So again, add those things, those qualities of things you celebrate. Something I've added during this time has been running. And every time, now this is me being very honest here, before when I started, I could run for 2 or 3 minutes, because after that, I'd be like, breathing hard. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape to haven't ran or done workout in forever. But I've been running, and that's been a huge shift for me. My time has gotten better. My endurance has improved drastically, but it took that first step, right? So that's part of my new evolved self now, the running. And I get these amazing runner's high, which is so good. So it's like some of the things that you're gonna choose to explore are gonna stick, meaning like you're gonna be like, yeah, this is good. This feels really good and I wanna continue. And some of the things that you try are gonna be like, that has to go. That's not gonna work for my new self, and that's okay. So identify things that you can do with your physical body, things that you can implement with your mindset, your thoughts, right? The conversations you have with yourself and other people. The emotions, like what are the emotions that you want in this awakened self, this new version of you? It could be more excitement about life, more passion about life, more joyful about life, more in the state of receptivity of gratitude, appreciation, right? Like what are some of the other things that are connected with that? What are some of the choices you might make with your eating? Maybe you'll eat more junk food and more desserts because you realize how yummy it is during this quarantine. Or maybe you're gonna choose to modify some of those things and eat a little healthier, more veggies, more smoothies, more green juice, who knows? But just identify whatever is gonna be unique to you. Do not compare. They're audibly telling me it's important not to compare. So if you hear me saying that I'm running, please do not take that as an invitation that you should be like, oh, maybe I need to go ahead and do something strenuous or run or work out. No, that is not what I'm saying. A workout, running is not required. But I will admit that if you're able to find something that is unique and comfortable and honoring for your physical self that allows movement to take place, it's going to be a huge gift for you. Body movement guides a lot of our emotions. Body movement guides a lot of our mindset as well. And that's just physiological. Physiologically, how our body's moving and how our organs are performing and how we're breathing, all of that impacts our mind, our thoughts, and our emotions. It's been correlated, it's been researched, it's out there. So this is not just like a spiritual concept that I'm talking about here, energetic, which it is, but there's also fact. There's research out there that shows and demonstrates that. So something that can help you shift and move your body physically, physiologically, support its movement. That would be very good, very helpful. And it could just be that you just take deeper breaths every time you walk, or it could even just be that you stretch. One of the biggest things, we've talked about it with one of our conversations, but I give it to everyone I coach with. Stretching. Because when you stretch, there's a release that happens. There's chemicals that get released in the body, but also energetically, I get shown it's a way to help release stagnant energy, stagnant emotions, they're saying the word chemicals, so just even things that are being released with the body, and it helps it move so that you organically can release it when you go to the bathroom and things like that, okay? Even when you exhale. All right, so identify the things that you want to be part of your new identity and your new self. And then identify 3 steps, 3 actions that you can take in the moment or within 24 hours to solidify those intentions. Just 3. Start with 3. So you're going to put that new identity, new self somewhere where you can see it. And then again, those 3 things that you can commit to, 3 action steps to commit to. 1, for example, could be finding a book that you can listen or read that's going to support that. 2, maybe you're going to go ahead and run or stretch or do yoga or something like that. Another one could be meditation. Another one could be journaling. Like every day you're going to take time to journal what's happening and unfolding, what your thoughts have been through this, what you're doing to move yourself and help others through it. So just 3 things, 3 action steps that you can commit to that are going to be part of you being supported to becoming this list of this individual, this person, this identity that you were saying yes to. And what they said to me is that every week, check in. And I know it may seem like a lot, but it really isn't. But every week you're going to check in. Those 3 things that I'm still doing, and are they helping me with this? Or are they not? Maybe this one is really helping, but this one here, not so much. So you can go ahead and modify it and change it and try something else. And if you can, add 2 more things. What are 2 other things that you can add to your behavior, your mindset, your action, what you're doing in your routine that can help support this new elevated sense of self, the new identity that you are becoming and stepping into? So when all of this is over, you've become a sense of self, an empowered sense of self that is not just going to help you get through this, it's going to help you thrive through it. And it's going to help you thrive with life beyond just the virus, beyond just this quarantine. It's going to help you leap. They're audibly telling me quantum leap. And this is what they've taught me so many times, even as a young girl, that when we take these steps and we choose to step into the next level of ourselves, every time we choose that, we step into a timeline, we step into an energetic space in which we can quantum leap into opportunities, we can quantum leap into well-being, we can quantum leap into those things that we want in our lives, we can quantum leap into more beauty, more fulfillment, more alignment. We quantum leap. So if you can commit Oh, if you can hear me, I trust everybody can still hear me. See, our camera just shut off. By doing that, you can go ahead and, all right, well, there we go. Okay. So by doing that, you're going to go ahead and give yourself the opportunity to quantum leap in all areas of your life in a positive, exciting, expansive, delicious way. All right. So doing this exercise is going to be very supportive. Committing to it is going to be even more supportive, and moving and continuing with it beyond just a week or 2 weeks is going to be life-changing in a beautiful, exciting, positive way. Okay. And if you can't do it for yourself, and the reason I say this, because I know there's a lot of people who love to serve and show up for other people, but if you do this for you, you're going to help other people. Because what happens when we change in a positive way vibrationally, we feed other people. We inspire other people. We help other people rise. So if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for yourself so that you can do it for other people. So you can help other people rise along the way. So you can be of service beyond just yourself through such a decision. Because when someone chooses to move in such a direction, it blesses us all. It blesses the whole. It inspires others to do the same. So by doing this, you're going to be energetically an inspiration, as well as those that are watching you and witnessing you. They too can be inspired to be the next level of themselves. All right. So the next thing, when you're feeling sad or frustrated, they said, just, and I know it's going to sound silly, but it works. So if you feel sad or frustrated with what's happening, or that you're stuck in the house, or certain things aren't moving a certain way, or that you want more of this or more of that, or just because you can't go to the store, whatever it might be, when you have the feeling of sad or frustrated or agitated, just take a deep breath and remind yourself, okay, that's just me moving through the discomfort of the mold that is breaking. That is just me moving through the discomfort of the mold that is breaking. Because what you're going to do is that you are going to help your mind understand that this is not you. Your sadness, your frustration, your anxiety, what you're feeling is not you. It's just a reflection, a representation of what is being felt, because the old you is moving along and a new expanded you is becoming. Right? Kind of like when you mourn someone, right? When you say goodbye to someone, you feel sad. You may even feel frustrated or agitated or stressed or annoyed about it. But it's something that moves, right? You're just saying goodbye to an old part of you. That identity, that mold is just being left behind. And I know, again, it may be intimidating, but the new you, the new version of you, the expansive new you is going to be more fulfilling, filled with so much more joy and more freedom than that you could have ever experienced, if you choose to continue to move in this direction. So again, when those emotions come up, just engage your human mind and remind yourself, this is why I'm feeling this. And the reason I'm saying this, because they said that too many people are leaning the wrong way with the meaning of what's happening and how they're feeling. So we're not being too compassionate and supportive with ourselves, because we're giving the wrong whys. We're giving the wrong meaning to the emotions and the thoughts that are coming up. So this is a way to redirect that thought, that emotion. This is a way to redirect the meaning, right? The why. It's a way to redirect it in a way where it becomes empowering, and you can stand up tall. They're showing me so you can stand up tall and continue to move in the right direction. Okay? Now, energetically, what can you do when through all of this? Taking time to breathe. And I know it seems so simple and so silly, but taking time to breathe and stretch, like I said a little bit earlier. Incorporating the how, it's by stretching and taking deep breaths and consciously doing it, not just walking around and like, I'm just going to breathe right now. No, like just say, okay, the top of every hour, I'm going to take 10 deep breaths. At the top of every hour, I'm going to stretch my chest, stretch my back, stretch my arms. Like just giving it a conscious decision that you're going to stretch. You're going to move sadness. You're going to move stuck energy. You're going to move and expand. Okay, so by consciously taking the initiation to move energy and to move the breath. All right, and then lastly, again, I'm just going to go 4 because the time is getting close, but we go into this a lot more on the Awaken Superhuman platform, which I know I'm saying, I already shared with you guys, we're going to be launching in 2 weeks. So next week we're going to be doing the pre-launch, and I hope you join us and I hope you're part of it, because we're offering an amazing incentive to be part of this. And also just, it's going to be a way that we're going to be helping you and so many people step into new versions of awakened self that are just unlike what's been shared before. So we're really excited. As I said, I'm sharing all my secrets and things that have been part of my journey and what they've been teaching me that I haven't shared ever. So really excited about that. So the next thing, as I'm saying, the last one we're going to talk about is meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be anything fancy. And the reason I say that, because a lot of times I hear people, well, I don't meditate, I can't quiet my mind. It doesn't have to be that. You can meditate on a word. You can meditate on the word gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude. You can use it as a chant, and you can see yourself opening up to everything that brings joy to you that you can be grateful for. You could do a gratitude meditation. Focus on everything that you can identify that you're thankful for. You could do a meditation where you walk around the house, right? And watch your step. Notice the sensation of your foot hitting the floor and moving up above the floor. Meditation is about just being present to notice and focus your thought and attention in a direction. And meditation is also a way where we can receive the moment. The moment itself can offer us so much. When we are present enough in the moment, we open up to insights, because our mind is not distracted, our energy is not distracted. So again, meditation doesn't require you to go into silence for 10, 20, 30 minutes to an hour. It doesn't require that. It's that you're giving something all your attention. You can meditate by making love. You can meditate by holding a loved one or your child, by just allowing yourself to truly feel the embrace. Meditation is just allowing you to be here. So that's part of what you can do to help as well move into a new awakened self, because what's going to happen is that new ways of thinking, new ways of being, new ways of receiving the moment in yourself and others are going to organically take place, right? It doesn't require the work. So meditation is a wonderful way to move into that higher expanded sense of self, Christ consciousness, right? And the next level of who we can be. So I trust all of these things today, whichever you're listening, whether in replay or live, were of service and support to you. I know that we said that this is going to be our last call, but we have talked about doing another call next week, because so much came through the last 2 nights that I am not able to cover or was able to cover. So we're going to go deeper into a few other conversations, and I am going to make sure to let you guys know the topic a little sooner. I know several people shared that you'd like to know sooner. The one thing that you all know, everything I do is always divinely guided, so it's not ever forced, meaning like I just open up and they just show up and they give me guidance. So I will ask for them to share with me a little sooner so I can advertise it and share it with you sooner, so that you know what's coming up and be prepared for it too. So thank you so much for joining me live and on replay. If you felt this was supportive, please share with other people, let other people know, and also just join us if you haven't yet, and subscribe to our channel. And visit Awaken Superhuman so you can connect to any updates along the way and anything else that we offer to you as a gift, and also as a support in ways that are going to be offered through our platform. Thank you so much for being the beautiful you that you are, and everything that showed up through your presence to help support the inspiration and the guidance that was needed today. And please make sure to hit like so that I know that you enjoyed this or connected to the message. And again, just please say hello in the comments, and I'll make sure to go back and say hello. All right, thank you. Much love to you each. Thank you, Adam. I see, thank you, Rosie and Paula, and I know there's a lot of other people. I can only see the last few comments. Hello, Sue. Thank you so much. You guys are all amazing. Thank you, Marjorie. You guys are all just amazing. Mwah. Much love. See you guys next week. And big hugs, big hugs. Bye.